when you think about single mothers and the relationships they find themselves in with their children, it's not hard to understand how covert emotional incest develops. I can remember I was in a relationship with one woman and she had herself and a son for 10 years. Just herself and her son. She used to call him gorgeous, angel. I do remember she did have a firm hand. I did see her smack him a couple of times, but ultimately the child had the authority over the mother. And it set that kid up for he had such a feminine side to him. I can remember one day he was having a muck around fight with my oldest daughter and she broke his wrist accidentally. He was just frail. He had a frail stature. I believe well, I don't know what happened, how he turned out in the end. I know he joined the army, the Navy, the Royal Australian Navy. So that would have shown him some discipline. But that little boy could never accept an outsider, as hard as he tried. And the mother really tried too. I have to give her credit. But in the end, they default back into what they're used to. And this is what you have to be aware of and careful of. It can be really hard because everybody's trying their best with what they know and what they have. In terms of being in a relationship, but you're at the mercy of what these people will default into or default back to. That's what you're going to be at the mercy of. And that's hard because default's just a matter of time, isn't it? It's just a matter of how things go and how things end up and who's going to end up on the end of what. And you'll find at the beginning of these relationships, the parent will try. There will be effort. There'll be a deliberate effort to make things work. And then as things start to disintegrate, because what happens is high-value men have certain standards and certain levels of tolerance. And what these women find themselves mixed up in is relationships with men that don't have much order or discipline, or they're on alcohol or drugs or something like that. They're just not, their lives just aren't structured right. And these people become victims. We've got a chopper going over. And these women become victims of, well, not victims, I mean, they actually choose to try and integrate in with men of low value systems. And I've seen these women with nothing but a TV, a bed, a cupboard and a lounge. And you look deeply into their soul and you ask yourself, how did you tolerate what you tolerated to end up where you have? Which is nowhere. She's in, and they'll do it again and again and again because it doesn't matter how good or bad the person is that comes along. Once default comes in, the single mother will respond relative to a lower resolve capabilities. The last one I was with couldn't even talk at the end. Had no rationale at all at the end. And the sons had interfered so badly, she didn't even have anything to say at the end. I called it for what it was, which was covert incest. One of the sons that was pulling his hair out, saying to his mother he was being neglected and everything else, but that wasn't truly the case at all. covert emotional incest manifested and got harder and deeper, and it actually got quite ferocious at the end there, where I just said, oh no, not doing this. You don't have to worry about your mum neglecting you anymore, mate. She's all yours. Because she enabled it as well. This is what happens with these single mothers. They enable the bad behaviour. It's not just the child. They enable the bad behaviour happening with the child. Well, in this case, she didn't know how to confront. Well, I don't think she knew what to do. He took over. He was the authority, not her. And consequently, I left. So I don't know who she's with now, or don't really care what she's doing now. But there's another person that didn't want wisdom. All she had to do was say to the son, you need to stay out of my relationship. You're going to be all right. If you're going to commit suicide, do you want to be cremated or buried? I mean, this is where you got to get to with some of these children. Oh, I'm going to commit suicide. Oh, I'm going to do this. Well, what do you want to do? If you're going to commit suicide, do you want to be buried or do you want to be cremated? That'd be my response. Because otherwise you're just entertaining coercion. And if the person does commit suicide, believe me, it's not your responsibility. Don't blame yourself. That's a personal choice. If it ain't something that you've caused or done wrong to the person to make it happen, then it's not your concern. Hi love, how are you? Good, thanks. So this is how they end up. This is how, yeah, I'm the guy that foils and paddles, and you've probably seen me go past a few times paddling and foiling, and yeah, I'm one of them ones. What's your name? Michelle. Yeah. Good on you, Michelle. You're doing a great job. Good on you, love. So single mothers, they default back to what they're used to, and it's very unattractive, and they end up on their own. It's very few women that will rise up and say, get out of the way of my relationship. I want this relationship. It's more important than you. And this is where the conflicts start. This is where the trouble starts. And unfortunately, this is where these women end up on their own. Now you might say, well, you're sitting on your own. Yeah, well, I'm sitting on my own by choice. I'd rather be on my own and have order than be mixed up in a covert emotional incestual situation that I've got no control over, where it becomes abusive and out of order, where you become just a convenience instead of a high-value person. That's how covert emotional incest works. Value gets lost. Value gets replaced. So this is Gosford on the Central Coast. And if you've got standards, you keep those standards. Don't let these people ruin your standards. Leave them go. If they default back into behaviour that's not acceptable, let them go. Because they've come in as one style of a person and degenerated back to what they're used to. That's how these people operate. That's how they work. And you have to act quick, and you have to act smart. It's called covert emotional incest and single mothers. Unfortunately, single mothers aren't in a position that they think, they're not in the position that they think they are. They They haven't got the privileges that they think they have. They've got disadvantages left, right and centre. So it's up to them to stand up and put the relationship first. But unfortunately, in most cases, the security of the children and all the rest of it is more important than the partnership, because they lose interest as they go along. They're used to being on their own. So that's unfortunately where most single mothers are ending up now. Once their standards drop, they revert back to the security of the child or the children, and the relationship ends. So that's how covert emotional incest wrecks things and ruins things. This is Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, New South Wales, Australia. Bye for now.